I don't think so, but there's a remedy for that already. Just show a yellow card or send someone off. It's there. It's in the rules. Like, how much you tolerate is really up to you. Adding another one, what's that going to do? Is that going to mean, is it degree of dissent, or is it any dissent, or is it kind of the magnitude of the dissent? Is it what you say? Is it what you do? So the remedy's already there. Now, if it's not being enforced to a level that people are satisfied, well, do that. That's the change you need to make. I don't know why. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it because I just, like I said, I'm in a different space in terms of where I think football's at. But one team being down to 10 men for 10 minutes, you know what it's going to do to our game? It's going to destroy it, mate. You're going to have one team just sitting there trying to waste time for 10 minutes waiting for a guy to come on. You know, like I said, every other game is trying to speed up. Every other sport is trying to declutter. All we're trying to do is go the other way for some bizarre reason. But like I said, I'm sure there's some, you know, I guess it comes down to whoever we feel should be the custodians of the game to protect the game. That's always my fear. Who are the custodians? I'm not talking about coaches and players. God forbid, could be a journalist. Could be somebody who just loves the game. Anybody who understands our game and protects it. Because, like I said, if it just melds into what every other sport is, well, we lose. There's a reason this game is more popular than any other game in the world, is because you can get a ball, put two bags down as goals, and away you go.
And on the subject of technology, it's slightly different. There was an Opta supercomputer last week, apparently, who gave Tottenham less than a 0.1% chance of winning the title. Now, I know before you asked, were Spurs in the title race, and you said yes. What do you think your chances are?
A supercomputer. So does it go into a phone booth and change and turn into something else from just a normal computer, or no idea? And what did it say? 0.1%.
Less than 0.1%.
So we've got a chance then. Go for it, mate. No problems. We've got no issues with that. Yeah, we've got a chance.
On a serious note, this is the first time this season where you've had perhaps your best choice at the start of the season with a lot of good players, but Benson calls. You've got a run of fixtures now at home for the next three games. There's obviously some tough ones to come over the hill. You're only 7 points behind. How excited are you to have the best first choice 11 going into this run?
Yeah, look, I'm definitely, excited is probably a good word. Only because, like I said, it gives us a chance to kind of, put some things into place with our training, with the way we want to play our football, to see if we can go up another level and another 2 levels, another 3 levels between now and the end of the year. We've got 15 games to go. Like I said, we've got probably the healthiest list we've had since the start of the season, and that gives you that platform. But we still got to go out there and perform. It doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it, it doesn't give us any sort of impetus unless we take advantage of that. Now, the evidence I have so far is, like I said, the start of the year when we, like I said, apart from Rodrigo, everyone was fit. Our train levels were great, and that was reflected in our football. So we've got to try and replicate that and hopefully raise it a notch. Because I think the other thing is, going to the sort of the tail end of the season, every team's got a fair bit to play for. So there won't be any sort of easy game fixtures along the way. Everyone's got a hell of a lot of motivation. So we've got to match that. We can't just say, well, we've got all our good players so we've got to just go out there and we just roll out our football. At the start of the year, we were doing that because, like I said, our training was really good. Guys were really focused, and we need to do that. And look, having the extra bodies also means competition for places is also, at a higher level, which I always think is good. I like it when there's competition for places. Not that I think people get complacent. It's just everyone tries to raise their level, which is only a good thing whether you're in or out of the team. You want to push to get in there, and if you're in there, you want to maintain and increase your standards so you don't miss out. So I think all those kind of factors give us a platform to finish the season strong, and we should finish the season strong.
Matt? Hello. You just mentioned custodians when you were talking to Tom there. You sort of made it clear where you want custodians to be. Are you concerned about what custodianship we have at the moment?
Well, I don't even know who. I mean, I assume that you know the governing bodies are the custodians at the moment, but I guess what I'm talking about is the detail of it. That when, for want of a better word, when change presents itself, who's representing the game, and are we getting enough of a cross section of who we need to be? So, if you're asking me how it currently works, I've got no idea, mate. I haven't been in that space, and I dare I say it, I never will be. So, but when I talk about those things, I don't. I take my manager. I'm just talking about as a fan of the game. That's all I'm saying. Is that as a fan of the game, I've always loved the fact that, you know, for the most part, our game has remained untouched for my sort of 40 years experience in it. There's been some rule changes, which, you know, I remember, you know, when I was playing, I could pass it back to my goalkeeper and pick it up, and then he'd throw it back to me, and I'd pass it back to him and pick it up again. And we used to, and you know what, they changed it. Why? Because they didn't want to see that, didn't want to see the game slowing down. They didn't say, good decision, let's go with it. And I don't think anyone's complained about it. But, you know, other than that, there haven't been too many shifts. You know, I don't know why all of a sudden we've seen such a major transformation. We've let technology in the door. We know that's going to affect it. So let's just see how that plays out before we start thinking about other significant changes. So that's, I guess I'm saying, is the conversation we're having now. Who's having those conversations? I don't know. You might know better than me. Yeah.
Also, if I can go back, it sort of goes back a little bit to the last time you probably spoke. Vicario and corners and protection and stuff. Is it something you had to have conversations about that to clear that up with officials or with
I haven't, because I struggle with that stuff. Like I've said before, I've kind of always been the one where you've got to just respect the referee's decision or the umpires. But I think, you know, we have sent some stuff to get some clarification. Because again, I think, now, again, I'm going to get called out for this, but there was a thing that was quite evident in the game, that the goalkeeper was a protected species. I don't think that's just me making that up. I think, and the reason people used to say that was that if you really impeded a goalkeeper in any way in a 6-yard box, you're going to get a foul. You kind of knew that. I knew that as a player. I've known that as a manager. There seems to be a shift there. Now, somebody will say to me, well, the rules haven't changed, but I think there's been a shift there where now, because to me it's obstruction, right? When you standing in front of a goalkeeper, stopping him before the ball's even arrived, in layman's terms, that's obstruction. Now, somebody's going to tell me that's not a law either, which wouldn't surprise me. But again, it's something that I've kind of thought was part of the game. And I've seen it in general play. I've seen our guys get blocked trying to close people down by other people. And I'm finding it bizarre that it's not getting pulled up anymore. And, you know, with the goalkeepers, like I said, what's that going to do now? Well, it's pretty much open slather now. You can sort of surround the goalkeeper and crowd him and put balls on top of him, and you just got to wait for the scramble to finish and see what happens. I was really proud of Vic the other day. That I know people kind of, you know, I think they had 9 corners after we conceded it. I think he dealt with just about every other one by coming out and actually having a crack at it, rather than sort of standing on his line and saying, oh, I don't want to get exposed. So I can't praise him highly enough for the way he handled it. And the whole thing about people saying, well, you know, they've got to be stronger. You know, what does that mean? Like, if he pushes or does anything to play with VAR, you got no chance. You know, you're going to get a penalty against you. So we're kind of telling our players now, just be careful in the box. They were looking for everything VAR. You're not going to get away with, you know, a little shirt pull or a little, you know, push. So how are goalkeepers supposed to be stronger in that sense when you've got somebody standing next to you, obstructing you from doing your job? Is my point. Like, if there's contact before the ball arrives, I thought that was obstruction. Now, like I said, I'll get called out for this because I'm probably, you know, behind the times, and maybe there's been a rule change. But there's definitely been a shift, as I see it, where we've had at least 2 goals, maybe 3, that in the past would have been called for fouls on the goalkeeper that are being called now. And not just our game, I've seen it in other games too.
feel like not like you do?
No, we just got to adapt and adjust to it and deal with it the best way we can, because obviously there's been a shift in the way that's been dealt with.
Back, please.
This is Dave from the Daily Mail. How are you, Ange?
I'm good, thanks, mate.
I would like to ask you, because you guys are taking on Brighton at home. Last time you guys took on Brighton
Yeah, not a lot. I thought it was a good game. Probably should have finished 4-4 in the end, to be fair to us. I thought we were a bit unlucky towards the end. But, yeah, you kind of know what you're going to get with, like I said, with Brighton. They're going to play their football, we're going to play ours, and hopefully this time we prevail. But, as I said before, I don't think it's going to be a dull affair, and should be exciting for everyone to watch.
And obviously, I would like to sort of add the reason why we'll take you guys into the top four. In terms of where you guys sort of want to finish this season and sort of your expectation, is this sort of where you guys sort of see where you see your sort of team at this moment in time? You guys sort of think you can like sort of finish in and around the sort of top four this season?
Well, I mean, according to the supercomputer, we've got a 0.00001% chance of winning it, mate. So until the supercomputer rules us out, we're going to just stay in there and see how we go.
Okay.
Thanks, mate.
Alan, and then finish with Davide, please.
Yeah.
You touched on the broadcast about respect for Brighton's attitude.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of similarities with what you want while you're in something? A lot of the stats would suggest possession.
Yeah.
Places.
Yeah, there's probably similarities in there, but I think it's fair to say the approaches are probably different in terms of when you're looking at positioning of players and kind of the methodology of how we get from point A to B. But I think the underlying premise is that both teams would like to have dominance of the ball and like to sort of play through lines to get to your outcome. They're pretty aggressive on their press. So there are, absolutely, I think there's some synergy there in kind of the underlying philosophy, for want of a better word. But I think the actual detail of it, there are differences there, which is only natural because I think I've said before that, you can't just go along and copy other sort of methodologies. You've got to bring your own sort of spin on it and your own personality, and that's where the differences lie. So, I think it wouldn't surprise me if there are underlying stats that are very similar, but how we get to that point, I think there is a difference between the two teams.
In terms of you and Deserving, how you sort of helmed toward the club and the culture and things like that. Is it becoming harder to do that across management? Is it taking Tottenham examples, leaving after 9 years, and you're kind of thinking these really long ways are things in the past? So is that even more challenging, do you think, as the game progresses?
It can be. I guess I always felt with those kind of things, it depends really on the manager and his brief, but also his kind of personality and how he wants to tackle the job. For others, they're more comfortable in a different space. Others feel like, they're kind of the spokesman for the club and they take on that responsibility. I think, and like I said, a lot of that depends on kind of the club model and how they want. So I think there's room for both. I think one's probably more demanding. I think when you kind of become sort of the spokesman for the club, you can get sort of dragged into areas where, for all of us, we've got a limit sort of energy and time we can spend to these things, and our priority is still always going to be the team and producing results. So, I can see why a lot of clubs would probably say, let's just protect our manager and sort of get him to focus on what's important and build other things around him. I think you'll see that more and more. I think you'll see more, for want of a better term, of support services around managers in the future with the demands of the role, because it is becoming, obviously I've been doing it for 26 years, and at different levels, but it's becoming even more consuming than you kind of thought it would be when I first started.
Davide, we'll finish with you, please.
I want to take you back to the Terry and the respect that you had for him. What do you like about him so much?
Look, I always kind of like managers and coaches who, their teams have kind of a clear identity, but also he's a little bit different. And, probably because of kind of my own sort of journey and the way I've got to where I am, you kind of always get attracted to those kind of ideas because you kind of know that for somebody to go even slightly against the grain in football, to do something just even a little bit different, it's quite challenging. You've got to really have some strong self-belief and some clear ideas in your head. And and with Roberto, you can see. I mean, even before he got to the Premier League, as Sassuolo or Shakhtar, wherever he was, you could already see those, elements of him doing things differently, and there are a lot of managers like that I always respect, because, like I said, it's very difficult even to go slightly against the grain in football, because you'll get questions straight away, as to why you think you can do something differently and it's going to be better than what's happened before. So I've got respect for that.
Your team's probably play the best football in the Premier League. What do you like about Brighton in terms of style playing and
Well, thank you. I mean, I reckon there'd be supporters of other clubs that disagree with you, but look, like I said, with the way they play, they're really brave with their football, with their possession football. They're prepared to sort of, draw teams into areas that other sort of clubs would look at risky. About bringing the opposition into really deep areas to then be able to exploit them, and that takes a lot of not just bravery, but a lot of coaching, a lot of information, both from and the players are included in that. They've got to be pretty brave to play that way. So I have a great admiration for that, because, like I said, I guess in football, that's where the greatest risk lies, when you play football in your own defensive half or defensive third, knowing that there's always the potential that something won't go right and you concede, and the questioning will come straight away as to, well, why do you do that? So, I think whenever I see teams that kind of set up in that way, and like I said, there are different variations of it, they're exciting to watch. Again, if I stop being a manager and I'm a supporter, it'd be one of the teams I'd like to watch.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thanks, guys.
Let's see if the computer's up.
Sorry about that, mate.